How Hollow Knight Silksong's Bell Beast represents the sequel's increased difficulty. Silksong's surprisingly brutal difficulty has resulted in more negative reviews on Steam than you might expect. Silksong is way harder than Hollow Knight, and my theory is that Team Cherry became evil masterminds without even realizing it. Is this difficulty on purpose? Okay, let's talk about this. It's been 4 days since the long-anticipated release of Hollow Knight Silksong, and it has absolutely delivered in more ways than a couple. But currently the biggest talking point around the game is its difficulty. Many players feel as though the game punches you in the face immediately with no gradual escalation to that point, and others gently take the hand of those who are having a hard time and advises them to get fucking good. Personally, I believe the two things can be true. I recently played through the original Hollow Knight, so it was fresh on my mind before Silksong, and I can confidently say that Silksong met me with solid difficulty a lot sooner than the previous game. That's mainly due to the fact that some enemies break their foot off in Hornet's ass, taking 2 mass per hit within the first half hour. There's also a lot of tricky enemy placement that leads to some pretty tight platforming, and enemies who speed blitz you once you're in range as well. Also, the iframes seem pretty limited, so you can absolutely get wombo comboed. Let's also mention the fact that a lot of people will be waking up in a cold sweat after having nightmares of being in Hunter's March for the next 20 years. But anyway, while those criticisms aren't untrue, they're also not inherently a bad thing. Personally, the rooms with wave after wave of enemies ran my pockets way worse than any standalone boss. Bosses that summon enemies are a different breed of jackass altogether. Also, I will say that the runbacks to some of the bosses can be tedious, especially if there's a little flying jackass on the way there. I mean, flying enemies in this game are a special breed of aggravating. But anyway, with all that being said, some of y'all are doing way too much. I've seen people make declarations about dropping the game after getting hard stuck on the Scar Guard, an enemy that hits like a truck, sure, but also very much telegraphs what's coming next. I've seen streamers run face first into slow crawling peons and then getting mad at the game as a result. Now, I don't know if everyone is pressured to play the game like they think they're a speedrunner or something, but these things are very much a skill issue on full display. And believe me, I hate having to throw out dismissive terms and phrases like that, but I truly don't know how else to respond to what I've been seeing. Even in the first Hollow Knight, you had to take your time and learn how things work, so you weren't rushing toward the afterlife. Yes, in Silksong you do encounter certain things fast, but this game is not so much harder as it is different in my opinion. Hornet has a myriad of unique abilities, crazy movement speed. I mean, this bitch gets a full-on sprint quite early, and you can dash attack enemies into a pogo for a follow-up, so like literal fucking combos, and you get ninja tools. You can really fuck up your enemies just as bad as they do you. But the way people have complained about things in the game, it makes it seem as though they aren't given the tools to handle everything in it. You just have to see it through and give it time, and that's coming from somebody who is absolutely not an expert at these games. Learn the enemies and learn what to look for, but also let's just keep it a buck. Just because the game is extremely hyped and trending doesn't mean that it's the game for you. Metroidvanias might not be your bag, and that's okay. Otherwise, I'd say stop telling yourself that the shit's too hard and ask yourself what you can be doing better. Because honestly, most of the deaths that I've had made me point the finger to myself because I knew that I fucked up. Silksong may have started off as a DLC for Hollow Knight before splintering off into its own thing, but developers at Team Cherry stated that they didn't aim to make it more difficult and expected it to be played by people who had not played its predecessor. My algorithm has pulled tons of posts from people asking if they need to play Hollow Knight first before getting into Silksong, so I'm pretty positive that plenty of the people bought this game because it was $20 and were just curious as to what makes the series so popular. They may not typically play these types of games, and so when they get their chin checked, they immediately call bullshit on the game and go let the community know how they feel about it. But anyone review bombing this game because of this, please go fuck off into orbit. I never understood the logic of telling others that a game is bad just because it doesn't click with you personally. There are a lot of games that I don't care for personally, but that doesn't make them bad per se. They just aren't my lane. But speaking of the community, the Get Good community specifically, the way you guys dismiss valid criticism as hate is just as problematic. Everyone who isn't crowning Silksong as Game of the Year is not a hater, and just because you post a clip of yourself successfully completing a section that others have mentioned having a hard time with, doesn't mean that it didn't take you multiple attempts to get through it as well. I mean, seriously, I saw a clip on Twitter that this guy posted showing a successful attempt at beating a boss so he could put a condescending caption like, oh, you guys are having trouble with this? You need to get good. But in the fucking clip, he cut out the part where he picked up his silk, but you could see, you know, when you hit it, you break the shit and it's on the floor. Like, you saw that he picked up the silk from when he previously got ass blasted by the boss, but because he edited that out, he figured he could get online and tell everybody else that the shit was easy. Like, bro, it's okay, you got your ass whooped, it happens. Like, be fucking for real. The type of modern gamer that irks me the most are the ones who pretend like they first try everything and speak as though they just never encounter any difficulty throughout their run. If games are that easy, I'd imagine there'd be no satisfaction in spending money and running straight to the credits. Part of me feels like people are spending sleepless hours trying to beat the game first so they can save clips and throw them at people just to prove how anyone complaining is just not as competent as them. And this is big in the FromSoft community, by the way. They love to police how everyone plays the game and then act as though they just walk through all the shit hassle-free. Meanwhile, Bandai Namco released the death toll for Elden Ring in its first year anniversary, and it showed that there were over 9 billion player deaths. So somebody's lying. But anyway, is Hollow Knight Silksong a challenging game? Yes. Do people need to get good? Also yes. And maybe it's hypocritical of me to say this after certain points in the video, but if you downloaded that easy mode mod, just watch a fucking let's play. Game hasn't even been out a week, like what the fuck are we doing here?